Hello students, welcome back to our channel Deeplogy. So today we are going to discuss part 3 of chemical reactions and equations. Okay? So if you have not watched the part 1 and part 2 video, the link will be given in the description box. पहले वो करो और फिर ये video देख लो. ठीक है? So in this topic we are going to start from the photolysis of silver bromide. Photolysis of silver bromide. So what is the silver bromide formula? AgBr. Okay. So when AgBr reacts in the presence of sunlight, photolysis का मतलब क्या, sunlight ही होता है ना, and we get Ag and Br2 in the releasing form to the environment. So to balance this equation, I add here 2 and 2. So basically AgBr is a yellow, bright yellow in color. But when it reacts, when it reacts with sunlight, we will remain with the Ag, which is gray in color, and Br2, which is bromide, is released into the air. Maybe it is a photolysis of silver chloride or silver bromide, AgBr and AgCl. These are basically used in black and white photography, okay, that you can remember, photography, okay, and these reactions are used in the black and white photography. So let's do some questions, right? So I'll give some question like assertion. A का मतलब क्या होता है? Assertion होता है. लिख लो, when silver chloride is kept in sunlight, it turns gray. What is the reason for that? Decomposition of silver chloride happens in the presence of sunlight. When silver chloride reacts with sunlight, that will what we will get is Ag, which is in a gray in color. Yes, it's correct. What's happening there? It's a decomposition with using sunlight, which is a photolysis decomposition, which we call, So the reason is decomposition of HCl happens in the presence of sunlight. So both assertion and reason is true, and reason is the correct explanation for the assertion. Okay, so that's the first option. Both are correct and it's a correct explanation. We can write it. Okay, so we'll do some more question, that is लिख लो that why do silver chloride and silver bromide turns gray? Why does it turns gray in sunlight? Sunlight में ऐसा कुछ क्या होता है, like it turns gray? So you need to write the balanced chemical equation and explain that why it turns gray. So why it turns gray, you can write that here the photolysis of decomposition happens and these are the reactions which it undergoes. Okay, and this will be the color and the end product will be gray because of Ag is present in the plate which we have kept, and the chloride and bromide is released into the environment. So this is the explanation, you can write it. And they can ask you some more questions like when silver chloride is exposed to sunlight, when silver chloride reacts with sunlight, nothing but the meaning is it undergoes decomposition. They are telling that it is undergoing decomposition reaction. Yes, it's correct. So they are asking now, okay, it's undergoing decomposition, right? So write the balanced chemical equation. Balanced equation you write. Okay, fine, we will write it. इसमें क्या है? 2AgCl that will react with 2Ag plus Cl2. That's it. And the second thing they will ask, why this AgCl is kept in black bottle. Black bottle में क्यों रखते हम? क्योंकि black is the best absorber of the sunlight, and it can absorb so much of sunlight in a very less time when compared to the other bottles or other colored bottles like that. So we mostly use black for the more absorption of the sunlight and for the better reaction to undergo. Okay, that's, you can write it. Fine. So this is about the decomposition reaction. Now we start about displacement reaction. Displacement reaction क्या होता है? Displace मतलब we are something replacing. That's the meaning of displacement reaction, you know. So a chemical, they can ask you a definition. Okay, so you need to write a chemical reaction in which a more active or reactive element displace a less active or reactive element from its compound. So what does it means? Okay, there are two persons. Okay, there are two persons. One who will support RCB and the other will support CSK. Okay, they are very good best friends, apart from like he is RCB fan and he is CSK fan. But when it comes for IPL time, na, there will be another person who is RCB fan. Okay, so what it will do? This RCB fan replaces this CSK fan, है ना जी? RCB fan will replaces the CSK fan because RCB एक ही होता है ना. CSK is another team when it comes for IPL, है ना? That's what it happens. So this RCB is much more reactive. ई साला कप नम दे, है ना? So this is much more reactive. So it can displace this substance. That's the thing. Okay. So this statement is explaining this only. Displacement, सिर्फ displacement भी when we talk about it, we are basically talking about single displacement. There is only one substance which is displacing here, है ना? Single displacement reaction. So in the simple terms, I can write A plus BC, which will convert B plus AC. This is much more reactive and compared to B. So you can ask that, how can we consider this is much more reactive and this is less reactive? How can we consider? Yes, we have one trick for it. Okay. And why it is displacing? Because A is much more reactive than B. That's why. Fine. So we have one chart to understand why and which element will be much more reactive, and it's very easy to learn it. Okay, so we'll consider most reactive to the less reactive scale. Okay, we will write it down this. So you also write it down. This is very, very important in the future also. Fine. So you write potassium, which is K, sodium, which is Na, calcium Ca, magnesium Mg, aluminium Al, zinc Zn, Pb lead, H hydrogen, Cu copper, Hg mercury, Ag silver, and Au gold. Okay, so we can write it. It's potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, lead, hydrogen, copper, mercury, silver, gold. Fine. So this chart is very important. You can say, मैम इतना तो बड़ा है, हम कैसे याद रख सकते हैं ना? So we have one trick to remember this. So we have one trick. Katrina ने कार मांगी. कौन सी कार मांगी? वो ऑल्टो मांगी, जेन एक कार की नाम है, ठीक है, जेन मांगी, फेरारी मांगी, ठीक है. फिर भी हाय, फिर भी मतलब हाय का मतलब ऐसे when flow will say ना, फिर भी हाय क्यों मिली सिल्वर ऑडी. के का मतलब क्या? पोटेशियम. यान कतरीना ने मतलब एन के मतलब सोडियम होता है. कार मांगी विच इज कैल्शियम एंड मैग्नीशियम. ऑल्टो जेन फरारी विच इज सो ओके Fe which is iron here. ठीक है. Yes. Alto Zen Ferrari which is aluminium, zinc and iron. फिर भी which is lead and high which is hydrogen, है ना. क्यों मिली सिल्वर ऑडी? सिल्वर which is silver only. Au मतलब ऑडी होता है. मिली here we are expressing in mercury. Hg नहीं है, mercury. We'll say we are saying like that. Copper. So Q which is Q, copper. That you can analyze it, and if you learn some 2 to 3 times and write it down, it will be very easy to understand also. Okay. And we'll write some equations now. Note it down. There is one activity which is given in your textbook. Okay. Activity ऐसा बोल रहा है that you take one acid, you put some zinc granules in it. Okay. So for example, I take H2SO4 as an acid. Okay. And I in the test tube and I put some of the zinc granules in it. So what this zinc will do according to that chart, okay, the upper part is most reactive, right? The most reactive, है ना. So Zen, Ferrari, फिर भी high, which is high is lastly ना. So high का मतलब होता है क्या? Hydrogen. So firstly the zinc is coming. So zinc displaces this hydrogen. ZnSO4 plus H2 will be released. Okay. So how can you say this hydrogen is releasing? We know that this is hydrogen test. क्या होता है? That pop sound test. We have learned it, right? Pop sound test. What we'll do in pop sound test? We will take one candle, we will light in it, and in front of the test tube, if you take it out, there will be some pop sound which is appearing and we can hear that. Okay, that's because of hydrogen only. So that we can explain. So instead of H2SO4 also you can take HCl, hydrochloric acid also. There is no problem. The most example, the activity which is given, which is telling about sulfuric acid. H2SO4 is nothing but sulfuric acid. Okay. Sulfuric acid. You can say that मैम इतना ज़्यादा रिएक्शन से हम कैसे याद रख सकते हैं? Just note it down, some all the reactions at once and practice it some 3 to 4 times. It will be very easy. Fine. Okay. There is another example which is given, that is CuSO4 copper sulfate. When I add iron nails to it, iron nails, there is one activity which is also given. So what it will do, FeSO4 plus copper, and copper will be remained in the test tube only. Okay, fine. So you take one test tube. Okay, you take one test tube. You fill that test tube with CuSO4. Okay, that is activity which is given in the textbook only. And you place some iron nail wall पे लगाते हैं ना, nail, वो nail, है ना, that is made up of iron. When it reacts now, this copper will be coated this like this, that will be coated on the outer layer, है ना, and the copper which we can be separated, and FeSO4 will be done like that. Fine. So there will be a brownish coating when it reacts with this. When it reacts with all of this, there will be a brownish coating which will be appeared in the nail. So nail kesa tha, and there will be some brownish coating. So this brownish coating will be because of the copper after the reaction. Basically this copper sulfate which will be filled before the reactions, that is basically blue in color. That's basically blue in color. Okay, fine. And yeah, this is about it. Then we have some of the other examples also. Note it down. Pb, which is solid, right? So when it reacts with CuCl2, which is in aqueous form, we will get PbCl2, which is in aqueous form, and copper as a solid, which will be reacted, because lead is much more reactive when compared to the copper. Fine. So zinc is in the solid, which we will react with CuSO4. Then we will get ZnSO4 plus Cu as separate, because zinc is much more reactive than copper. So zinc and lead, which is much more reactive than copper, and which is tells it. Fine. So these are some of the reactions. Yeah, if you write some 2 to 3 times, you will understand what is going on, and it's basically very easy to understand also. Fine. Yes. Okay. Next we have okay, let me give you one of the question. It's very tricky. Okay, understand it. So I take FeSO4 and I react with copper. What will be the reaction? What will be the reaction? The reaction will be nothing, because Fe is much more reactive when compared to the copper. When it is already reactive, it will not react. Matlab, there will be no reaction. It will remain same only. There is no reaction in it. Fine. So now we'll start double displacement reaction. Double displacement reaction. So what is double displacement reaction means? Wait. Okay, double displacement reaction. So we are going to learn now double displacement. So in the previous we have came to know that in a single displacement we are only displacing one particular thing. So here what we do, let me take the RCB and CSK again as an example. So this is RCB fan and this is CSK fan. Fine. And there is another friendship which is RCB fan and CSK fan. Fine. Okay. So when IPL comes, RCB teams up into one, and CSK teams up into one. Fine. So here we can observe that there is one substance here and one substance here which is going to become together in the future. In the same way here also. So that is double displacement. Funny, right? Okay. कहने का मतलब that is AB plus CD after the reaction that will goes with AD plus BC. Fine. Okay. We'll write some example and then you can come to know. So in the textbook they have given some of the particular example. You need to learn that. They are very important. Okay. They can ask you so many times. Lead nitrate PbNO3 twice, which is in an aqueous form. Okay. And Ki. To balance it, I write it 2. Okay. So that is also in aqueous form. When it reacts, we will get Pbi, which is lead iodide. Okay. Then potassium nitrate 2KNO3, which is also in an aqueous form. And you must remember this colors. Lead nitrate is colorless. Potassium iodide is colorless. The precipitate which we get is that is PbI2, which is yellow precipitate. we came to know what is precipitate. After the reaction, that will remain down in the test tube itself, that we can clearly observe in it, we can clearly see it, that is a precipitate. So in that, the precipitate is PbI2, and the potassium nitrate is also the colorless solution it will be. Fine. So this is very, very important reaction. Mark it important, and practice some 2 to 3 times, you will understand. When lead nitrate reacts with the potassium iodide, we will get lead iodide, then potassium nitrate as a thing. Fine. And here is one of the again most important example, which is the equation, which is BaCl2, which is in aqueous form, that is react with, this is barium chloride reacts with Na2SO4, sodium sulfate, which will get barium sulfate, then NaCl. NaCl is salt, which is in aqueous form. Here we get white precipitate, and this is colorless, this is colorless. One of the much more very interesting thing is in double displacement. In every double displacement, we will get some precipitate as an result. So here we got yellow precipitate, and here we got white precipitate. These two equations are pretty much important. You need to learn it. Fine. So yeah, let us discuss some of the very important questions, what and how they will ask. Okay. What happens? The questions are very, very important. We are going with the we are learning, and also with we are learning and we are practicing the questions along with it. Okay, that's very important. And fine. So what happens when zinc granules are added to dilute sulfuric acid? What happens? Here we can say that it is a single displacement reaction by this, okay. So which gas is evolved? It's hydrogen gas is evolved. Fine. And how we can test it? Pop sound test, and you can explain that pop sound test also. That's very easy, how we can test it. And they are asking to write the balanced equation. We know that H2SO4 plus zinc, which will get ZnSO4, and H2 will be released. Fine. This is very important question. These type of questions they will ask. Okay. On the spot, you need to understand the equations will be like this, and always write the balanced equation. So which of the following is a displacement reaction? If they only mention the displacement reaction, you consider this as a single displacement reaction. Fine. So they will give like AgNO3 plus NaCl. Okay. What we get? AgCl plus NaNO3. B. Zn plus CuSO4. ZnSO4 plus Cu. Third is BaCl2 plus H2SO4. We get BaSO4 plus 2HCl, and option D is H2 plus Cl2 2HCl. 2HCl. Okay. So here you can observe we are talking about displacement reaction, which is single displacement reaction. Something should be displaced. So you can observe this as an example. This is double displacement. You can clearly say that DD, which is double displacement. Okay. Zn and CuSO4, this is very important because the activity which is mentioned in the textbook itself. Okay. So it is single displacement. The answer of this question is this. And BaCl2 H2SO4 is again double displacement reaction, and H2 plus Cl2, which is combination reaction. The answer is B. Fine. In the same way, they ask you some of the different type of question, like when lead nitrate. Do you remember this lead nitrate? PbNO3 twice, lead nitrate reacts with potassium iodide. Potassium iodide, a colored precipitate. We know that this lead nitrate and potassium iodide is the double displacement reaction. So when we are talking about double displacement, there is obviously a colored or a colorless precipitate. Something precipitate is formed, maybe a different type of colors. But in the case of lead nitrate and potassium iodide, we know that it will be a yellow precipitate. We know that, right? So a colored precipitate is formed along with type. What is the type of the chemical reaction which is undergoing? It is double displacement. It's very easy, right? The option you have to select is yellow precipitate and double displacement reaction. This is very important and very easy also. Fine. So next we are going to learn what are the characteristics of chemical reactions. So there are some certain characteristics. Before also we have discussed, but if they ask you change in temperature, if they ask you exothermic, you need to be ready to answer and you need to be ready to write any one of the chemical reaction here. Okay. So characteristics of chemical reactions. Okay. So what is the first type of or first characteristic of chemical reaction is change in color. Change in color. So where we can see this change in color? CuSO4, when it reacts with iron, CuSO4 is which color? It's a blue in color, that you can write it. Fe plus CuSO4, then it will get FeSO4 plus Cu. So this is the change in color which is happening. The second is change in temperature. Change in temperature, combination reaction we have learned, when we react quicklime with the water, we will get calcium hydroxide with the heat which is present in it. So that we can write. So in the endothermic and the exothermic also there are two. So in endothermic you can write like CaCO3, which is calcium carbonate, and when it get heated we will get like calcium oxide plus CO2, carbon dioxide we will get. In the exothermic reaction we can write quicklime, this is calcium oxide, when it reacts with water, which will get calcium hydroxide with heat present in it. So the third thing is change in state. This is very easy. Give an example for this. Water, right? H2 plus O2, which will get H2O. This is not yet balanced. So I add 2 here. Okay, now it is balanced. What is fourth one? Evolution of gas. Evolution of gas. What the example you can give? Evolution. There is the hydrogen release. We recently have studied Zn plus H2SO4. What we get? ZnSO4 plus H2 we get. Right? So there is evolution of gas, that is hydrogen, which is tested by pop sound test. Fifth one. Formation of PPT. We can write any of the example which is in double displacement reaction. So most favorite example is lead nitrate, PbNO3 twice plus potassium iodide. Okay, that gives us PbI2 plus KNO3. To balance this I add 2. So when you are writing the equation, you remember that you always write the balanced equation. Fine. Okay. And now the topic comes about oxidation and reduction reaction. So what is oxidation? Oxidation ka matlab like O. Okay. So which means we are adding oxygen or or removing hydrogen, that can be come under the oxidation. So in the chemical reaction which we will add oxygen to a substance, or we will remove the hydrogen from the substance, that we will consider this as an oxidation reaction. So what are the examples you can give? That is C plus O2, which is CO2. We are adding oxygen here, so we can consider that this is an oxidation reaction. Okay, so then H2S plus Br2, okay, 2HBr plus S. So here we need to mention oxidation. Yes, it is happening, but oxidation of what? Oxidation of carbon is happening here. Here reduction, from where we are removing hydrogen? From sulfur. So it is oxidation of sulfur. What we need to write? It is an oxidation of sulfur. So another main topic comes, what is oxidizing agent? Oxidizing agent क्या होता है? So oxidizing agent is nothing but it's an substance. It is a substance which brings about oxygen. Which brings about oxygen means oxidizing agent, which we can, in the above example, we can call this as an oxidizing agent and this as an oxidizing agent. Okay, why means here you can see it is Br2. What is happening? We are adding the hydrogen. Okay, it is sacrificing its life for the sulfur, that you be away, I will be with this hydrogen, है ना? So that acts as an oxidizing agent. We will learn in a depth way what is oxidizing agent in the coming. So next comes reduction. Reduction is exactly opposite to oxidation. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll remove the oxygen or add the hydrogen in this case. Okay, so we'll write some example. N2 plus 3H2, which will get 2NH3, you know? And another example is ZnO plus carbon, that gives us Zn plus CO. So here we are adding the hydrogen to where? We are adding the hydrogen to this nitrogen. So there is a reduction of nitrogen undergoing here. Reduction of nitrogen. Okay. Now from where we are removing? Firstly we have oxygen in zinc. After the reaction we didn't have oxygen. So it's a reduction of zinc. If you understand the basic concept, the core concept, it's very easy. Okay. This must be remembered, very important. So now we call what is redox reaction. Redox का मतलब क्या? There is also oxidation is going on and also the reduction is going on. So you can write the definition that a chemical reaction in which the reduction and oxidation takes place simultaneously. In one reaction only it is undergoing. A chemical reaction in which reduction and oxidation takes place साइमल्टेनियसली, मतलब एक ही बार में दो जकड़ा, ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, लाइक इन वन स्टोन वी कैन किल टू बर्ड्स, लाइक दैट समथिंग, है ना. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड रेडॉक्स रिएक्शन. सो व्हेन वी want to give some example, we can give this zinc oxide reacts with carbon which will give zinc plus CO. तुम बोल सकते हो मैम ये तो हम डिस्कस किए थे ना रिडक्शन रिएक्शन में, है ना. yes, we have discussed this as an reduction reaction, but there is also oxidation. Reduction of zinc is happening, but I didn't talk anything about carbon right here in that particular previous things, है ना. So here oxygen is there, the oxygen is not there, fine. The carbon is not having the oxygen here and it is having oxygen here. So we can say that this carbon is undergoing oxidation and this zinc is undergoing reduction. Did you understand? the difference. So the oxidation and reduction is both, so we can call that it has an redox reaction. Fine. Okay, fine. So explain the following reaction and identify oxidant and reductant. Oxidant and reductant is nothing but oxidizing agent and reducing agent. So now you will understand much more clearly. Okay, I'll give an example. Fe2O3 reacts with aluminium. We'll get 2Fe plus Al2O3. Here oxygen is there, now it is not there. So which reaction it is? It's reduction. Okay, this aluminium is undergoing oxidation. Okay, you can write this as a reduction is ongoing and it is oxidation is undergoing. So you just in a blind way, in a very blind way, you just write it what I'm writing. So what is reduction is going on? Reduction of iron is going on. Reduction of iron. So oxidation of aluminium. Fine. Okay. So we have written this is undergoing reduction, and we have written this is going oxidation. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. Where we have written R, which is a reduction is undergoing, you just write this as an oxidizing agent. Okay. Where we have written oxidation, you just write reduction, reducing agent and oxidizing. This is very simple. In a very blind way you can write, and it's 100% proof, 100% correct also. Fine. So you can write it. You need to identify what is undergoing reduction and which substance is undergoing oxidation. Then we can easily analyze which is oxidizing agent and which is reducing agent. Fine. Understood? Understood, hai na? Fine. So now oxidation of copper to copper oxide. This is also very important. Oxidation of copper to copper oxide. Finally the current came. Okay, the oxidation of copper to copper oxide. So here I take copper. Okay, then it will react with oxygen, which is in a gaseous form. That will give us copper oxide. To balance this, I'll add 2 here. Okay, you remember that in the wire normal you can use see in the household, the copper you can see in the wire that is in a brownish shiny browny color. Shiny brown color it will be. Okay, then when it reacts with oxygen, it will give us a black in color of copper oxide. Okay, in the same way we will see reduction of copper oxide to copper. So here what we'll get, we'll already take the carbon copper oxide, and that reacts with hydrogen because it is a reduction process, and we get copper plus H2 as a water as a released, and we know that this copper is a shiny browny color and this is black in color. Okay, so this is very important, and we'll discuss some of the questions now. The reaction given below is telling about the redox reaction. So MnO2 plus 4HCl that reacts and gives like MnCl2 plus 2H2O plus Cl2. Okay, here you can see that MnO2 is getting reduced to MnCl2, which is we are removing the oxygen here. Okay, that is in a reduction process, and HCl here it's going to from HCl it is going to the H2O, and there is an addition of oxygen happening here, so it's an oxidation process. So there is a reduction reaction and also the oxidation reaction, so we can call this as a redox reaction. So the question will be like, the options will be like MnO2 is oxidized and HCl is reduced, which is exactly opposite. No. So option B, like HCl is oxidized. HCl is oxidized, yes, it's correct. Then the third option will be like MnO2 is reduced. it's also correct. Option D will be the B and C both. So then you have to go with option D. Fine. So the next question will be, which of the following statements about the reaction they are asking incorrect? About the reaction is incorrect they are asking. So the reaction is 2PbO plus carbon, that reacts and gives like 2Pb plus CO2. Okay. So when you see this Pb is getting reduced, it's getting reduced. PbO, which is lead oxide, is getting reduced and carbon is getting oxidized. So it is redox reaction. Because there is a removal of oxygen, here we are adding the amount of oxygen. Fine. So they are asking incorrect. So the first option will be lead is getting reduced. So you can see clearly see this option is wrong and wrong. Yeah, means the lead here, lead is not getting reduced. Okay, here the lead oxide is getting reduced. So they are asking incorrect. So it is one of the option which is correct. मतलब क्वेश्चन के पूछने से है ना. So the second statement is carbon dioxide is getting oxidized. Carbon is getting oxidized, not carbon dioxide. So they are asking incorrect. So it is right. Option C is carbon is getting oxide. So according to this statement is getting satisfied, but they are asking incorrect. है ना? So option D will be lead oxide is getting reduced. The option is correct, but they are asking incorrect statement. So the answer will be A and B. Fine. So the next question, which is especially very tricky question when you see it. Okay, so I'll say it how you can handle this. Okay, a reddish brown metal Y reacts with oxygen upon heating to form a black solid X. When X is heated with hydrogen gas, it get reduced back to the reddish brown metal Y. So we need to identify what is X and what is Y here. So this I'll leave to you. So you can you can very easily judge that what is reddish brown metal. Nothing but here they are saying about copper ki kahani, which we have discussed a few minutes ago. That only they are saying in a very different way, nothing else. Okay. So next, corrosion. So this is one of the important topic, that is corrosion. What is corrosion? Here the definitions are pretty much important. So what is corrosion is when metal surface are attacked by substances like oxygen, moisture or acids. The metal is said to undergo corrosion. So when you keep the metal or anything, okay, outside, obviously it will react with oxygen and moisture and the acid which are present in the air. So in that time, that metal undergoes the corrosion. This process is undesirable. Matlab the metal doesn't wants to get corroded, है ना? But it is undesirable as it weakens the metals and dimensions and its appearance. Then what will it appear like when you see the iron in the initial stage and after a few months, there's a lot of difference and there is a dot like structure on the metal, you know. The appearance is damaged and its strength is also getting damaged by it. So most familiar example is rusting. So what is rusting means? Rusting is nothing but this only, corrosion only. When we are talking about iron, it's called rusting. Iron reacts with air and water. Particularly when we talk about iron, we have to mention air and water to form heat, and a reddish brown flaky substance will be formed. This oxidation process, known as rusting, occurs more easily on the metal surface. So we can write the equation. It's not needed, but for example, okay, and this is hydrated iron will be the resultant of it. Hydrated iron oxide. Hydrated iron oxide is nothing but the dot like structure of reddish brown on the metal, which is iron. We can obviously see in the our day-to-day life. So that is called about rusting. And something it's called tarnishing. Tarnishing is not important. Nothing but the corrosion. When it comes for copper, we call that as tarnishing. Nothing else. Sorry, tarnishing means when it comes for silver. After wearing the silver for few months, like 6 months, 7 months, it turns black. That's because of tarnishing process. So why it turns black means the silver reacts with sulfur to form AgS, which is silver sulfide. Silver sulfide. So it turns black in color after wearing the silver. We can see that in their day-to-day life. So what are then, how can we prevent this? Means there are some process like painting, oiling, then greasing. So these are the some of the methods that we can prevent the corrosion process. Now the last topic, which is rancidity. Rancidity. So what is rancidity? Rancidity occurs, you write the definition. Rancidity occurs when oil or fat containing food items are exposed to air for a long time, leading to oxidation. As a result, the food develops an unpleasant odor. मतलब कुछ समय के बाद that will give a bad smell and a bad taste also. So how can we prevent this rancidity? So you can see the chips. Okay, if you open the packet and kept for 5 minutes, not for 5 minutes, something like 1 hour, 2 hour, that the taste of that will be little bit changed. That's because of rancidity. And to prevent that only, they have filled the chips, which we call Lays, like anything, etc. And those all the packets will be filled with nitrogen to prevent rancidity only. When rancidity happens, like when it exposed to air, it will become bad smell and it occurs a bad odor also. Fine. So the ways of preventing it is filling nitrogen gas into it. And in most of the things, like when we bring the curd or milk, we'll keep in a refrigerator, so that also helps. So refrigeration, because if you keep those packets outside, means that will get spoiled and we can't use it, right, after a few days. Refrigeration of food items, because refrigerator keeps the food cold and prevents it from going oxidation. Third one is addition of antioxidants. Matlab the things which prevent some food items from going oxidation is called anti-food oxidants. So in this topic, what all the questions they can ask is, what is corrosion, give one example, and write 2 methods or 3 methods for prevention, like that type of question. Like write the balanced equation for the following reaction, identify like what all we have learned so far. They can ask you in one way, like quick lime reacts with water. So you must know how to write the equation. So this is the first. And second, like they can ask you electricity is passed through water. What will be the reaction? The H2 gas, like H2 will break into H2 plus O2, that reaction. And the third is silver bromide photolysis of decomposition, that we can write, and we need to know how to identify that also. So far what we have learned is this much. Okay, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and subscribe to our channel, like this video. Thank you.